Thank you for watching. Like, share and subscribe. Oh no, I don't think they say that. I think they say like, comment and subscribe. Oh, I'll need to practice this. Bye! This episode might be a bit more serious, but I will try to keep it as light as I possibly can, just given the topic. Also, I'm going to preface this with a few things. Firstly, I've got a document here with some prompts, just because I know what I want to talk about, but I also know that I'm guilty of going off topic, and I don't want to ramble too much. I want to try and keep this as concise as possible. This is the first time I've ever recorded a video like this, and I've set it up all myself and things, so the camera might go in and out of focus, so apologies if that happens, but I'm only recording this the once. This episode is part of a 10-part series which is called The Art of Not Fitting In, where I turn pain into purpose, and really it's been born out of rejection. The main catalyst of this has come from, and I wanted to be a place where people feel like they fit in the simplest terms. The reason I'm starting with this episode is because never have I felt more like I don't fit in over the past few years, which is related to TSW and just kind of everything that's happened. And I think it's a good place to start because it's taken up the most time in my life recently. For some context, I've always had eczema, very, very mildly. I've had it in between my elbows, which again, you probably won't be able to see, but yeah, just really mildly, kind of the common places where your skin rubs together, behind your knees, these kind of things. It would always get worse during the colder months, but it was something that I've always lived with. Cut to 2021, living in London, and I was working in quite a stressful job, had a lot of pressure, a lot of responsibility, probably wasn't looking after myself as well as I should have been. Also was living in a mouldy flat, not by choice, obviously, but that's just the price you pay sometimes of living in London. But anyway, the reason I mentioned that is because one day, out the blue, I just woke up and my face was completely inflamed. If you've seen That's So Raven in the episode, I'm sure she eats something. It might be mushrooms, and her face completely blows up. That was kind of what happened. Obviously, I was concerned because I didn't really know what was happening, saying that my body was telling me that there was something that wasn't okay. Also, I'm no doctor, but I have done a lot of research, but I'm not professing to have any sort of medical prowess, but I have had to take it upon myself to do the work. Anyway, between living in a mouldy flat, the stress of my job, I didn't really know what it was. So I went to the doctors and I was prescribed steroid creams, which you were to apply to your face and to the affected area whenever your skin flared up. The doctors didn't really know what was going on. Then ultimately moved back to Glasgow in 2022. My skin was becoming unbearable. And it wasn't just from a vanity point of view, it was from the pain, from my skin stinging, swelling, burning and itching. It always felt like I had, if you can imagine having spiders all over your face, that's basically what it felt like. And I couldn't regulate my temperature, and there were so many things that were impacting it which I couldn't really control, whether that was hot water, going in for a shower, the steam, shampoos, my hair touching my face, going from outside to inside. The triggers were so sporadic that I couldn't really pinpoint it. Anyway, so yeah, got back to Scotland and I thought, well, maybe being in a cleaner environment would help. That didn't happen. And my skin only continued to get worse. So I then was registered with a doctor here, continued using steroid creams, as anytime I went to the answer was, oh, you just have eczema. What you need to do is apply the steroid, and when your skin flares, reapply it and continue along that journey. And I noticed I was going to the doctors almost every second week with my skin being worse. Initially, it would help short term, for a day or two, and then it would come back with a vengeance. Then the next option was, okay, well, just apply a stronger steroid cream. And I suppose I just really trusted what advice I was being given. And so I never thought twice, or I never thought, well, maybe it's the steroid cream that's actually making my symptoms worse. That was that. Then I got referred to a dermatologist. If you live in the UK and if you ever undergo any NHS treatment, you know that it does take a long time. So I got put on a waiting listologist, which was, a year-long waiting list. And I underwent patch testing, which is quite an unpleasant process. But anyway, that came back with I had a fragrance allergy, which makes sense because when I would wash my hair and things and my hair would touch my face, it would be triggered. Completely removed all fragrances. That was fine. I guess now we do live in a day and age where there are a lot of fragrance-free options. So that helped mildly. And then my sort of skin would develop in different ways, or it sort of manifested then in different ways. And it never sort of went. As a result of that, I then went on a course of antibiotics because the doctors thought maybe it could have been bacterial. So ultimately I ended up in 5 months of antibiotics to find out that it was never bacterial. I also underwent a course of antifungals because there was a possibility that it could have been Candida albicans, which is just a fungus overgrowth that I know a lot of eczema sufferers also suffer from. And then I was thinking, well, perhaps because I lived in a mouldy flat in London, potentially that could have been a trigger. Anyway, got to the end of that, and that, unfortunately, it wasn't ever a fungal infection either. My next port of call really was going to be a skin biopsy, which is where they take a bit of skin off your face, so you're left with a scar, or going on immunosuppressants, which obviously suppress your immune system, which then open up a whole can of worms and make you a lot more susceptible to side effects and other illnesses, which is not really an ideal situation to be in. At the start of this year, I could feel that my face was quite aggravated, and I thought, okay, well, I'll deal with it because I've got plans to see my friends this evening, and then I'm going to see another group of friends later on. So I kind of reluctantly went, and as soon as I got to my friend's house, my face just completely flared up and I got really emotional. I was so uncomfortable, and it was the first time in a really long time that I sort of had stepped out my comfort zone. And I know this sounds really basic, of going into an environment that I couldn't control. Couldn't control the temperature, the fragrances, how my skin was going to react, all the rest of it. And I wanted to socialise like a normal person. I had to leave so that I could go home and wash my face and put cold water on it and open the windows and take antihistamines and all these kind of things. Anyway, that was kind of the catalyst for me to really address that something wasn't right. I knew that something wasn't right, but I always kind of just put it to one side, or I thought, well, that will look after itself. I never made my health a priority because I thought, well, I've got things to do. I want to achieve things. I want to be successful. I want to run marathons. Basically, I want to do everything but avoid the fundamental factor that's impacting my life so much and hope that it just resolves itself. That obviously wasn't working. And I think it was a real pivotal moment where I thought, okay, I really need to address what's going on and I need to put in the work myself and unfortunately not rely on dermatology, doctors, allergists to get me better. I need to do what I can myself and do the research and put in the work. I contacted a friend who has been through a similar sort of journey. I used to work with this guy, and I remember he had gone through a sort of similar process with regards to a food elimination diet. Now, I was quite reluctant to go down a food approach because I've had a bit of an interesting past with relationship with food. So it was always a bit of a last resort because I would worry that it would have triggered other things that have kind of happened in the past. And I also, as I mentioned, was running marathons, so I never wanted to eliminate foods that were really pivotal for my productivity. I knew that something had to give, and after speaking to this guy and doing my own research and reading a book by Karen Fisher called The Eczema Diet, I started this, what's turned into a 4-month process where really you're on in essence, a keto diet. So it's all very anti-inflammatory, low histamine, whole food diet. So it's kind of really stripped back down to the basics: vegetables, chicken, fruit, nuts, and fish. I started that elimination for 3 months. Then what you do is you reintroduce different foods over a 3-day period, and hopefully you don't have any reactions. I never thought that food was necessarily the root of the problem, but by doing this process, you in essence reset your gut. And a huge part of eczema or of TSW, resetting your system and trying to reduce your cortisol levels and look after your body naturally, rather than, for me anyway, than resort to going on immunosuppressants. It's a natural way of trying to, because your body's so reactive to everything, and I suppose that's why you develop allergies, contact and food allergies, because your body's on tenterhooks and you're all of a sudden reacting to everything and anything. So it's a way of trying to suppress an overactive immune system. On top of the diet, I've also been on none of this is I'm paid in any way or advertised, or I'm saying these things have helped me. So I used the Current Body LED face mask, and once a day, have been having bone broth every day, celery juice, and used a Simprove probiotic drink for 3 months. I'm still in the process of healing, and I've not completed this journey. It is ever evolving, and I still have days that I really, really struggle. I definitely feel more empowered, and I've taken some control back of my health. Definitely lost myself as a result of going through this, and it has been really, really hard. And I think I want to make this video for people who are also going through the same thing, or if it's not TSW and it's not even to do with your skin, if you're going through something that you're finding challenging, or I want you to know that it does get better. I know at times it feels like it never will, and as I say, I'm in no way the finished article. I am still on my journey, but from where I was to where I am now, I don't think I wouldn't have believed I could have got to this stage. So if you're in that in-between stage, you've got to believe that it will get better. I actually have a dermatology appointment tomorrow, so that's kind of my D-Day, because it marks the 4 months of the food elimination and reintroduction. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. I've actually got, this is funny, I've got this document, and it's called Holly Gomez Skin Diaries, and it's an entire I don't know what's the best way to do this, an entire document that I've created for the dermatologist of my journey. I've been really private about this. It's hard being vulnerable. It's not something that I tend to do, but I know that I've really isolated myself as a result of pretending that everything's okay. And there's no right or wrong way to process emotions and things, but if I were to go through this again, I would be more open. That's my bit of advice for you if you're going through anything like this, that actually people want to help you, people are there for you, you will have a support system, and vulnerability begets vulnerability. It's difficult when you are a strong person and you don't want to admit that you have any sort of vulnerabilities or doubts, or and I think that particularly in this social media era where everything is glorified and you celebrate all the wins and the achievements and the successes, it's kind of I think it's doing a disservice to the 99% of your life that people don't see, because life is hard and nuanced and it's not all highlight reels and things. And I think I was beginning to feel a bit disingenuous that, I'm posting parts of my life on social media that look fantastic. I have also sent a lot of voice notes to different friends, so I do apologise if you've received a voice note about me talking about this topic, but it has been my personality now for the past almost 4 years. But I've been recording them and I've been saying certain things, as I mentioned, I think could definitely resonate with some people, and maybe that is you. I hope that this finds the right person. TSW, topical steroid withdrawal, is not being recognised as a real condition, and obviously if you apply steroids to your face time and time again, a steroid cream is a form of immunosuppressant on your face, and by stopping using them you suffer from rebound effects, and therefore your skin has been thinned down, the skin barrier has worn down, and you're more susceptible to the external environment, and that's why your skin then flares up and freaks out because it doesn't know how to function anymore without the steroid cream. So if I have any piece of advice, it would be, do not use a steroid cream on your face or on your body for that matter without knowing the long-term repercussions that you could do. Thankfully now there are different spokespeople, as well as different articles, whether that's on the news, TikTok, YouTube, different media forms that are acknowledging. There's one study that has actually scientifically proven that topical steroid withdrawal is a real thing, different from eczema, and it's now being acknowledged as a real condition. Apologies that this is quite a heavy, sombre episode. I watched back the footage and I realised that I ended it quite abruptly. So this is the next day. I'm recording this upon reflection. I'll keep this quite short and sweet. Today I had my dermatology appointment and I thought that I'd just say it actually went really well. Quelle surprise. The lady, Dr. Catherine, a huge thanks. She works at Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Glasgow, and she was the most compassionate, understanding, articulate, young doctor, dermatologist that I've encountered for a long time. And she genuinely cared, and that was palpable. So I'm undergoing the effects of using topical steroids, TSW, chronic spontaneous urticaria, hives, and atopic dermatitis and contact dermatitis. So I'm hoping to start a round of phototherapy during the winter months, and I'm just upping my dose of antihistamines. Not that you asked, but this might be quite informative for someone else. I had never intended to do this episode first, so apologies that I'm starting so heavy, but at the moment it's really topical and I felt like the only way is up from here. So I'm going to do it back to front and then I'll do the more light-hearted episodes following this one.